Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Spice Cup. It is the fourth round, and my opponent for this round is Andy Woodward, who is an 11-year-old kid. He is the second highest rated 11-year-old in the country at 2290 FIDE. So his USCF must be like 2400. I didn't check, but it's nuts because he's 11. And at the age of 12, I was 2000 USCF, which translates to about 1900 FIDE. And I was number 2 in the country. So, and a couple of rounds ago, I played the number 5 11-year-old in the country. They just keep fighting kids. It's typical. What I knew about Andy is that Andy likes to play the Slav defense, actually similar to my first round opponent. Now, he also doesn't play the open Slav with d takes c4. He actually likes to play the semi-Slav. And he plays the Cambridge Springs, which is queen a5, knight d7 stuff. He also likes to play a6, c5 stuff. So, of course, naturally, I contemplated what to do in the opening, and I settled on actually something I'm pretty proud of, which is the quiet Slav with e3, which can become very sharp and actually can become very not quiet. Before we continue, remember you can get any of my courses off for 30. You can get any of my courses off, not even a percent, just off, like 33% off. Use code SPICE. Trust me, do it. They're great. People gain like 300-400 points when they get them. All right. Results may vary. Use discretion. Now, you might also be wondering why I named the video why I named it. You would think that this is going to be a smooth sailing game. You're going to try to analyze my behavior, my mood. Don't. It's just an interesting name, and you'll see why that name occurs. Now, the main line here is bishop f5 because white has actually not taken the liberty to pressure the center, allowing black to develop this bishop to f5. However, white now tries to chase down this bishop with the move knight to h4. So it's not really so quiet. Black plays bishop to e4, making white do that, not making, but hoping that white does this, when either de4 leaves this knight stranded or knight e4 sets up bishop b4, and also this is under attack. So white actually does this, and actually prior to taking, finishes business on the queen side with the move queen to b3, attacking the pawn. Black plays this, and white plays this, with the idea to castle queenside. Now, before the game, I saw that a couple months ago, my opponent had a game that went like this: cd5, cd5, knight g6, hg6, and long castles. And here Wesley So has played a lot of games recently. If you check the database, this position has been reached hundreds of times. Now, you'll notice the structure was symmetrical, cd, cd, and knight to c6. So what I decided to prepare before the game and for the game was actually castling right away. And this allows black the extra opportunity to play the move dc4, which is the best move because obviously white hasn't taken, and then to attack this bishop. And then there's, white goes back, and then play continues from here, and this is the slight difference. So I thought, okay, I'm going to make a wrinkle in the opening that clearly he has seen before, according to all the games that I found from his online account and offline games. He'd never played this before. I'm sure he's seen it, but I thought it was going to be worth a shot. And then he played knight d7 instead of taking, and now, here's the difference. Now I take. You see the difference? If he plays cd5, he didn't put his knight on c6. So he already volunteered to put his knight on d7, which is sort of like a little move order trick. And this is just very good for white. I mean, white just goes for the exact same position. This knight has no central presence. Normally that knight likes to go back there, and white has a good position. But then he took with the e-pawn. Now, my notes only had cd and knight d5. So when he took with the e-pawn, I was like, okay, let's play it in the same way. Let's take the bishop and slide our king to b1 so that we can always play rook c1, and we have a nice position. We must be slightly better. And if you're wondering whether or not black can take this, black can, but the problem is that the queen is stuck defending b7. So here he castled. Now, I don't know anything about this position, but I know that generally when the pawn structure is symmetrical, you're going to attack with g4, h4, h5, blah, 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 stuff over here. Something like that. So I said, okay, g4. He thought for maybe 15 minutes. I was expecting like a5, just go for broke, a5, b5, a4, which the engine does like quite a bit. It likes the counterattack on the queen side. But when he offered me a queen trade and I just slid out of it, I was like, didn't he just help me? Now I just have the queen over here. I'm going to go like g5. I mean, I'm going to do something. I don't exactly know what yet. And then he played this. And I was thinking for some time here about what the best plan to go forward was. Now, my original intention when I got here was to play the move h4. And the idea of this move is, let's say black plays like a5. The idea is not to play g5 and let him block, but actually to play h5. Which, if he takes and then lets me do this, is game over. He just loses. Because my queen, my rook, my pawn, like everything falls apart. The reason I didn't go for this is because I actually kind of didn't like this. I thought that he could cocoon his position and not allow me to do anything with my h-pawn. Now, as a human, you don't go for this because you're like, my attack is frozen, which is the entire point of my position, is to attack. And the engine just says, nah, this is good, you should have gone for this. But, I mean, I don't have an attack here, is what I thought. I mean, if I play e4, my center is very delicate, the engine just sees through everything super calmly, is like, nah, this is absolutely what you should do. What I did something a little bit combining attack and positional play, which is this. And now his knight, even though it blockades me, I don't have to play h4. I just freeze his knight out of the game forever. So his knight is just not going to move. And I'm going to attack on this side anyway. Now, I was really stuck between f4 and rook g1. I really didn't know which of these two moves to play first because I want them both. I really should have anticipated his counterplay here. I actually was not sure what his next move was because he doesn't have a pawn break. And like no move with the bishop really made sense. No move with the knight makes sense. But f4 is better than rook g1 because I played rook g1 and he went here. And against this move, f4 would have been perfect because I can ignore the bishop and just continue to go with this f-pawn attack. Leaving my pawns behind, not developing my bishop, just going straight for g6. And if he takes, I can play like this move. And his knight, I mean, it's just going to perish. And we are through, g6 is coming, and black can probably resign in some period of time. So f4 was better than rook g1 to meet bishop b4. But then he played bishop b4, and I was kind of like, well, I don't really want to go for f4 now because e4 could be so weak. Like, if I lose this battle of light squares somehow and he gets rid of my, my piece like this, I don't have any control of the light squares anymore. And I don't exactly know how I'm going to get f5 if I don't have control of the light squares. So I'm not going to go for this. So instead, I'm going to go like this. And my idea here is that if this trade occurs, he can't play c5. So his idea might be to play pawn to c5. Like, let's say I do this. He might try to play something like c5. If I play bishop d7, maybe cd4, which turns out doesn't work at all because of a little nifty tactic. Take ed4, which I did not see. The engine is telling me this works because rook takes bishop, and queen c8. Wait, no. Oh, this, check here and line them up, and that's an absolutely brutal way to go. King and knight die together. It's like Romeo. Oh, no, it's not like Romeo. No, that's a totally different meaning. Whoa. Something else where two main characters die at the end. Very sad. So, rook c1. I'm trying to prevent c5. So he plays knight f8. I get his bishop. By the way, this does not work. Nice little trap, knight a4. And I would be winning the, first of all, the queen or the bishop. So, the position that we're really after, he attacks my pawn. I defend it. And we get, like, now I play bishop g4 threatening to take, and we have this position. And I'm clearly much better. I've won the opening battle. I'm slowly winning the middle game battle. But what do I do? Like, what's my plan? He has no moves, but what is my plan? I mean, I can't just hit the pause button and say, I'm plus 1.5, I win. No. So what is my plan? Started thinking like, okay, maybe queen d3, maybe bishop b4. I was also thinking like, would I benefit from a queen trade? Does a queen trade good for me? Where's his knight going? Right, like, I can't really move my pawns forward. Like, if I play f4, again, my light squares, and I die. I lose a rook, and then I lose the game. So, I decided to just play queen d3. And he blitzed out knight b5. Now, the engine here gives a4, preventing knight b5, which, I wasn't too worried about knight b5. But here the engine plays a really fascinating move, which I actually kind of saw. Bishop a5. Which on the surface just does a very simple thing, but it's actually very hard to meet. If the rook goes to b8 like this, now my attack that I played in the game works, which I will show you. I deflect the rook off center, and my bishop actually getting deflected off center is not as bad as the rook getting deflected. And if b6, then this is softened up. So a very delicate move, bishop a5, very professional move. What I did is I was like, ooh, me see breakthrough, me go for breakthrough, boom, boom, boom. Because now, when his knight was around here, this wasn't so scary because he could play a move like f5 and the pawn was defended. Or f6. But now if he plays f6, I go queen f5, queen h5, and he can resign. So, and by the way, the reason I haven't played f4 again, right? Queen e4. So I'm controlling all the squares of entry for his queen. So I play knight d6. He played knight d6. I took on f7, and I did this. I'm like, I don't understand how he's going to defend his position, because if knight f5, rook g5, and he loses. That's what I thought. I thought this was just game over. Or even e4, like even e4. But then he did this. I was like, what the hell? He's giving me his queen. Okay, well, I have nothing else, so I took. And now we have the following endgame. Very complicated endgame. It's a queen and a pawn for 2 rooks, and we both have bishop and knight. Now, what is the plan here? Well, whenever you play queen versus anything, but, 2 rooks, rook and bishop, you have to get the queen as active as possible, and you have to get it as hunting as many weaknesses as possible. So queen f5 would be great if I could take this pawn, if I can go beat up some pawns over there, and this trade would be good as well. So there's really only one move in this position that makes any sense, and it's this. He can try to come into my king. It doesn't, he can come in here, attack my king. There's nothing, because I can always break in the middle with e4. So he played knight c4, I played e4, and he surprised me here with this move a5. It's not that I didn't expect this move, I didn't really appreciate its power. So, had he played rook g2, I probably would have just done this, like something along these lines, and now decide whether I want to take or push. Now, it's funny, you would think you want to push, but I'm actually not so sure, because if you push, it's a fortress. Like, it's really hard to break through. It's actually very difficult to break through this position. Where does my queen go? This is fascinating. Believe it or not, you actually want to split your own pawns, because splitting black's pawns is more important, because you're the one with the queen that goes zoomy. It can go boom, 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 right? It can go boom, boom, boom. Like, it can fly around the board. And as long as my king is safe from the rooks, I should be okay. So, opponent played a5, and I was like, okay, well, I mean, obviously, I should split the pawns. I should play e takes d5, because if he takes my bishop, there's this. Then I realized, like, my heart kind of sank because there's knight takes b2 here, which I think I still have good winning chances. But, it's an absolutely hilarious move, just desperado, because you're going to lose the knight anyway. I thought I had winning chances here, though, because, again, like, look at these pawns. I mean, they're so split. But so are mine. So are mine. And then, here is my last chance to bring back the bishop. I just didn't really think I don't know. I didn't like this. I thought his knight was so much better than my bishop. I didn't see an exact way through. Engine loves it, thinks it's the best move. But I did this, and we got to this endgame. Queen and 4 versus 2 rooks and 2 pawns. And now you know why this video is called Am I Magnus Carlsen? Because, I'm sitting there going, okay, I'm going to try to win this game as best as I can, but probably it is a draw, but probably I'm going to just create practical chances for my opponent. And then this guy played this move. I was like, damn, that's a really good move. Because it's a fork, but that's not why it's a really good move. It's a really good move because he's getting really close to a fortress. You see, if he can align both rooks and both pawns in an indestructible formation, I'm not going to get through, even with my passed pawn, which was the scary thing about splitting your pawns, is that, you got to keep enough pieces on the board, like the bishop versus knight. Yeah, I evaluated that as, my bishop is not good, but the knight is better, but it turns out that I just need pieces on the board. I need bodies, basically. Like, you go to the park, you need 10 people to play basketball. You got 9 people. Guy across on the other side is not actually trying to play basketball. He's just trying to shoot around. Hate those people. Need bodies. So, f4. I said, you know what? You can take this. And what I calculated here was the following variation. d5, rook f3, queen c8 check. Or, sorry, d6, takes, queen c8 check, king h7, d7. And I thought I was winning here. And Engine says I'm not. Engine says it's a draw. Check here. Oh, check here. Check here. Oh, the double stack on the D file. We both missed that. We both thought this endgame was winning. Wow. So it's funny. Had he taken on a... Wow, that's crazy. Because this is so tricky. If you check me once the wrong way, you lose. If I can go to c4, it doesn't matter that you can take my queen because this is winning. Wow. So I just tried to create some practical chances. Here, if I take this pawn, rook f2 is an instant draw. I'm completely cut off. And so what I realized was I need to not take any pawns. I need to walk my king up. I need to make sure my king doesn't get glued to the back rank. So what happens now is some shuffling, as both of our times are ticking lower and lower. We both maybe have about 10-15 minutes. And I'm trying to come up with what my game plan is, and I figure it out. I have one winning plan in this position. It's not to trade a-pawns. It's to at some point walk my king up and play the move d5. Now, the defensive fortress I think he should play here is the move rook d5, which the engine agrees, and to go for a position that looks like this. This is hilarious. This is just the complete fortress, like a full-on laser beam, bulletproof fortress. Everything is protected by everything else. Well, not quite. The rooks just guard everything important. It's completely not. It's so funny. And I saw this over the board. I'm like, I think he should play rook d5. But, you know, I'm going to keep playing. And if he doesn't find the fortress, well, then, you know, I'm going to... And see, he did kind of get the pawn here. But now he never put something on the d file. So I'm constantly tickling there. And if he plays rook d6, there's check. There's all these different checks to lose a rook. So what I'm doing for these next, like, 5 to 10 moves is I'm kind of questioning where he's going to put his king, and I'm making it a little bit tricky for him. I'm always tricking, you know, I'm coming in this way, coming in on this side, and then I'm like, okay, now's my moment, king b4. I've gotten my king all the way up, so now at some point I'm going to go d5, but I can't rush it. I can't rush d5, because, for example, if I play d5 in this position, I lose the queen, so I go from completely drawn and trying to win to dead lost. So here I gave a check, and he should, in this position, play king d6, and then I'm not sure what's going on. But move 56, tired, nervous, time low, played king d8. And that allows me to play d5. The one move that I needed to accomplish with all this, avoiding all the pitfalls of a draw, setting as many practical traps as possible. And this is winning because of an absolutely fascinating geometric idea. Rook d6. Now, if he sacks both rooks for queen, I'm going to win his b-pawn and I'm winning in the pawn endgame. But this is fascinating. Check here, and the move queen g8, the only winning move, holding everything, and black is in something known as zugzwang. Black has no moves. This is what happens when you split the rooks and the king like this in an endgame. Black has no moves, and we both saw this. He told me after the game he didn't go for this because, and that's, you know, that's a high level maneuver. So he now tries to get my king. I get his b pawn finally, and now I'm always willing to sacrifice the pawn for the two rooks. I make sure that he can't check me while defending him, and he's just going to run out of moves at some point. So I check him, and finally I get to push that pawn forward, and now we end it with a nice little tactical sequence. Check. If king c8, queen a8 is mate, and if here we have check, if king f7, this picks up the rook, which shows you the power of the queen, and there's check, and again, if king here or here, this, and if this, then this. So in this position, he resigned. To answer the question, no, I am not Magnus Carlsen. I'm just your humble YouTuber, maybe your favorite, hopefully your favorite, and I'm doing my best. Andy was really good, man. He was really, really good. My prep worked really well, 2 games in a row now. I'm really happy that I've posed some problems with the white pieces now, twice, and after 2 tournaments, or maybe even 3 tournaments, of not really posing any problems. So the prep is paying off. I'm happy I learned a new variation of the Slav defense. Particularly because I hadn't really had one before, and Andy was really, really strong, man. I mean, he defended as long as he possibly could. So I didn't settle for the draw, you know, because I actually what really motivated me toward the end was, would a grandmaster draw this game against me? And I would have had to find that defensive fortress. A grandmaster would have pushed and pushed and pushed if I was with the black pieces. So that's just what I did. I never really gave up. I lost hope in winning a couple times because I was like, I see the draw, but I just kept pushing, and we got the win. So 2.5 out of 4. I'll see you all for the 5th round.